Hey everyone, welcome back to the m2M Cycling podcast on your mic. Today I'm joined by Nick, also known as Foxy. I've never had the privilege to ride with you, Foxy, but welcome to the podcast. How are you doing today?
Yeah, very well, thanks, Ben. Thanks for the invite. Thanks for the opportunity to speak.
No worries, and thank you for only requiring a minimum payment to kind of sign up for it. That's always appreciated. How long have you been riding for, and what made you get into road cycling?
So, from a cycling point of view, probably it's fair to say I've been cycling most of my life now. Road cycling, really, from where I originated, which was the Lake District, was probably not the number one cycling method. Obviously, mountain biking and everything was very popular around there. I was probably one of very few that did do both. So I've kind of a mixed history of mountain biking and road cycling, but with a should I say a real passion or obsession is probably the fairest way to put it, if you ask my better half, into moving away from the mountain biking into the road cycling after a couple of accidents mountain biking. I thought it was more safer on the road, to be fair. You still see the broken limbs and legs of my mates when I do go back up to the lake. So road cycling I think was more purist and probably at that time more safer as well.
Oh wow! So you've packed in the mountain biking altogether, or do you still dabble now and again?
I've packed it in altogether now as the bones get a little bit more brittle as the years roll by, should I say? And as I say, I think looking at that, and I do watch. Obviously, you're looking at the likes of Matthias van der Poel and everything, and Tom Pidcock, who do both disciplines, but it's far more extreme than it was in my early days as well. I'm quite happy with the flat tarmac, to be honest with you.
Other than the fear of death, which is always a great motivator, I guess, was there anything else that made you kind of switch to the road bike discipline?
So I think I had obviously friends at the time that I rode with back home, and it wasn't just myself. There was a few of us there that were doing both disciplines, and I think it was more of a group thing, to be brutally honest, Ben. At the time, there was 1, 2, 3, then 4 became 5, 6 became quickly 8 or 10, and then what we actually found that from a group ride perspective, it came more of a social, as you very well know, a social community really, and it really stemmed from there. So it was, yes, it's great riding hard and riding quick, but I think the other element to cycling, especially in group rides, is the discussions, the camaraderie with other people in there, and it's just the mix of people you get. Obviously, myself working in a tech hospitality environment, and the guy next to you, you know what I mean, it could be a CEO of his own company, or it could be a carpenter. It's just, again, a different mix, different conversations, and road cycling was far more social, I think it's fair to say, than mountain biking.
Okay. I guess with mountain biking, you've got to be you have to concentrate on the road, obviously, but I guess in mountain biking, it's more precarious scenarios.
Yeah, and I think you could look after yourself a bit in a group, a bit more on the road cycling. As you say, it's if you're feeling it a little bit, then they can duck into the crowd and sit in the pack. Whereas sometimes mountain biking is should we say, a bit more of a solo, unique experience.
It may be a slightly different story for you because you were already quite an avid cyclist, although in a different form when you came into road biking. But just for the kind of the newbies, the beginners who are part of or make up the majority of the m2M community, when you got into it, what was your first bike? How much did you invest? And apologies for the multi-barreled question, but what would you recommend newbies getting into it look out for, or kind of good options to buy?
I think with any sport is obviously don't go for the high-end machine, should we say, that is very tempting. They look very shiny and nice, and I believe my first bike was I think it might have been a felt Z's something, you know what I mean, alloy frame, still back in those days. Aero wheels were something that you only saw on Channel 4 when you're watching Tour de France. So my recommendation, anybody come to cycling, is get something that fits within budget, as you say. And then obviously a gradual build up if you take to road cycling and it's something that you're passionate about. And dare I say, as you probably know as well, Ben, as I said before, then starts to become an obsession and you spend more time and energy within the sport, then obviously there are different machines. But my recommendation to any newbie is find a decent level machine that's not going to break the bank, and go and test it out and see if you really enjoy it. Would
you recommend a particular budget? Are there certain things that you wouldn't necessarily compromise on? What would you focus on making sure we're actually of decent quality when you're starting?
Yeah, I think budget-wise, I think I spent probably £600 all in with everything. As you say, if my recommendation would be get a known manufacturer. There's quite a few out there, new and coming, but some of the tried and trusted guys like I know Giant that my girlfriend rides. She has an entry-level Giant, are very, very, very popular, very good frames. And just do a little bit of research on there. With a great thing on the internet now and reviews and such like. If you do see something on there from a bike point of view, have a look at the reviews. As I say, quite a few cyclists out on the road now, so there's no short of information to grasp from there. And as I say, from there, once you're used to riding that type of bike, because there's all types of different geometry now that you look at from frames. Dare to say, I'm one of the world's worst. I think I've got 3 or 4 bikes in the garage, anything from a climbing rig to an aero rig. So my recommendation there is don't go for something that we class as aero out in the world. You'll start to hear that a lot around cycling groups. Is get something that's a bit more relaxed in geometry, things there. So climbing type of geometry, a bit more upright, I think, because the last thing you want to do is come to cycling and get out there for 2-3 hours in an uncomfortable position and be aching for 3 or 4 days. It starts to make you think about, well, is this actually for me? So feel comfortable with the bike. And as you say, for me, £650, I think it was. And I had that for, I'd probably say about 18 months before I actually changed. Obviously, I was getting more and more the bug with it, and I was obviously looking around at different machines. But yeah, it was a good 18 months that I rode that machine.
Yeah, no, that's some great tips there. I think I was about the same. I think my first bike's entry level, specialized aluminium, because I was a complete ignoramus newbie. I was looking at these bikes with 2 chain rings. I thought, well, and then I saw this one with 3 chain rings. I went, hey, look at these suckers on 2 chain rings. I'm going for the 3 chain rings. Obviously, you learn that 3 chain rings is a waste of time. But yeah, that was about £800, and I did the cycle to work scheme. So you get it in the UK off your gross salary. So it comes out monthly. You hardly know it's there. So. You mentioned something there about start slow. So again, I'm conscious that you are already quite an avid cyclist already, but a lot of people I speak to or I've helped out on the road, they get out there, and you mentioned something in your previous answer about, you ache. Just want to caveat that comment with the fact that you will suffer even if you're a seasoned rider. In fact, that's part of the love of cycling, quite a sadistic way. Exactly, I think it's the suffering that we enjoy. How long would you suggest people, like a real newbie, because they get their stuff, they think they're going to be through me in the first ride, they get out there, they realize it's not, there's lots going on, lots to think about, they think, oh shit, I'm not enjoying this. How long would you give? How long did it take for you to click in a road bike, even coming from a mountain bike background? Even
I think even on obviously completely different disciplines and a different mentality to it and focus. I think mountain biking, that's very mentally intense because of the focus levels that you actually need, just due to the terrain and what you're actually trying to achieve. Again, it's a little bit more relaxed on road cycling, saying that not too much relaxed because you are cycling on open roads. in the UK, and as even a newbie would have seen, obviously the UK motorist community are very appreciative of cyclists in the UK, not. Whereas you have a completely different experience if you're cycling in the likes of France or Spain. You're part of the culture over there. So I think from a hook point of view, it probably took me back in the days, maybe, as you say, maybe 6 months to really feel that, this is something now that I'm going to start doing every weekend. That then gradually built. So I think my biggest advice, anybody coming into cycling and taking this on, is obviously looking at your routes, what you're looking to achieve. Is if it's fitness, either mentally or physically, what you can achieve, what you can't achieve, would be realistic. I think it is. I remember Ash talking about on one of the podcasts there that he dived straight into one of the Tour de Etappes, which
mad.
He is mad, and it doesn't surprise me. But obviously, and he did it. But obviously, for anybody coming in, it's just setting goals on there. So if it's, like you said before, Ben, if it's a 15 mile or a 50k spin just to get there, don't try and overexert or try and replicate a Froome guys out there, because it's not going to happen, to be honest with you. And set your expectations levels there, because anything from there, then the enjoyment will come, the pain will come. As you say, pain is part of cycling, and sadistically is one of the enjoyments out of it. So when I first started, I was maybe doing a 90-minute run to now doing 4 or 5 hours out in the saddle on a Saturday, and maybe 3-4 on a Sunday. One of the best bits of advice that I can give, just to keep, because one of the biggest difficulties is maintaining the fitness level with it. So if you only are riding a Saturday, Sunday, and you've got a high intense job, or you're struggling to get out on a bicycle during the week, which is obviously very difficult at this time of the year, that's where things like the trainers, the turbo trainers, come in. And again, there's obviously different levels through to pelotons that are very popular. I'm still old school. I've got rollers that I put one of my bikes on, and I put my earphones on, and away I'll go on an evening for an hour and a half. So it's just keep the physicality, keep the training going, try and utilize things like turbo trainers as well during the week, because it pays dividends when it comes to actually getting your enjoyment out the weekend. It's, for me now, there's probably a lot more pain Monday through Thursday than there is on a Saturday and Sunday. If I haven't done the Monday to Thursday, then the pain level's a lot more on a Saturday and Sunday than it should be.
No, that's very pertinent, because I'm going through it myself. I've come out of a fantastic season, 150, 200 miles a week, easy. Easy in terms of getting out and doing it, not easy in terms of the physicalities of physically doing it. And I think the last fortnight, I've been lucky if I've done 20 miles. It's just work, life getting in the way. I've got my turbo trainer, it's set up downstairs. I went on it once. And it's just finding that time. Everyone has different ways of staying motivated. In fact, shameless plug, there's a blog post coming out about that very topic in the very near future. Any kind of tips you would give to keep motivated, or ways of motivating yourself? One of your top 2 or 3 tips to do that?
Yeah, I think from a motivation point of view, is obviously very pertinent to what we're talking about. He's I touched on it, not only the physical but the mental side of what you do in life. Again, jobs can be very stressful depending on what you're doing, and I think one of the top tips for motivation there is just his mental well-being with it as well. It's cycling I use as a great aid for me to forget about what's going on around the world, or in my life, be it work, personal, anything like that. That for me then is just switch the brain off, and as you say, be at one with the bicycle, so to speak, and let the trials and tribulations of everyday life leave you behind. So the motivation are there just for knowing that I need that release. Is probably key to me. One of the main things, main reasons why I do it. And secondly, obviously from a health and fitness point of view, it very much making sure that I'm as fit as I possibly can. I'm 45, I think, in a week on Monday, I believe it is, and it's just making sure that from that point of view that I can keep doing what I'm doing as long as possible. I know at some stage I'll have to scale it back, but the more motivated I am to get out there, do the turbo training, do the cycling on the week from both a physical and mental point of view, I believe the better it's going to be for me and people coming into cycling, or people who've been cycling for 20, 30 years. That's the great thing about cycling. It's you know what I mean, when none of us are Chris Froomes out there. If we were, we would have been in the pro peloton, but cycling's a great leveler, and the fact that, as you say, you can be at different levels, but still riding groups, still ride with people at different. And I think for me, the motivation as well is the third tip I would have is continually learn from other cyclists. There's a lot of stuff out there that you can see online, and people get hooked up on gear, the latest Shimano coming out and Di2 and things like that. That's great. That's great. You can do that. But I on my routes that I do cycling, I bump into quite a few. Some I know, some I don't. I'll look at their different setups, what they're doing, how long they've been cycling, what do they do, what do they recommend? Because as I say, it's something you can continually learn with cycling. It never stops.
If you could go back with all the experience you've got now, and I ask this question to everybody, and there's one bit of advice that you would teach your newbie self that you didn't know at the time, based on what you know now, what would that be?
Forgetting about the actual bike itself, I would say from a clothing and nutritional standpoint, do your proper research and understand what you're doing. I'm sure you may have heard this many times before. When I first started cycling, due to budget sometimes, you'd have cycling clothing. You go, that'll do. I think one of the key elements to me that I've learned over the years is when you are spending this time on a bicycle, there's no enjoyment when you set off in minute 1 and you're uncomfortable to hour 4 where you're still uncomfortable. From a weather point of view, I understood that very, very quickly. That not having the right attire on is a massive thing. Once you start to lose feeling in your fingers and toes, it becomes very, very unpleasant and, dare to say, dangerous when you're struggling to hold the bars. So I learned that very quickly. So in hindsight, if I could go back, I would probably have spent a little bit more consideration on the clothing element of it. That is probably key for me as someone to start out. And again, nutrition. That's probably the biggest learning curve, or something I would revisit from my early days. You see a lot of it now on professional bike racing, where you hear it gets repetitive, but it's probably still good to hear where you've got the team directors telling the riders on the radios every 20 minutes, drink, eat, and that's because you're concentrating and you might be forgetting. I think for me, early days is you take one beading out and 2 gels or a bar, and if you're out for 3-4 hours, then to be brutally honest, you've gone through that, and you should be going through that in probably 60-90 minutes, and then you've got 3/4 of the ride where you've got no nutrition. And that was for me, looking back at it now, if there's something I could change, I'll probably be a little bit more into the correct clothing and nutrition aspect of it, because it's become such a big part of cycling now. It's probably controversial in some people's views on what you do with nutrition, how you use it, what you use, what brands. I'd always said on that, it's horses for courses. Try a few, find the ones that you like, ones that work, and stick with them.
Absolutely. And just listening to you speak reminded me of one of my lessons in life, where if you're going to try different brands, try them when you're at home, near a toilet, not necessarily out on the road. Rather awkward moment where I had to make a very quick emergency dash into a petrol station and plead with the guy behind the counter to use their staff toilets. And even though him insisting that they were for the staff, only not for the public, I did then suggest he's going to have a bigger problem on his hands if he didn't let me use them. Yeah, it's amazingly how quickly you can convince someone when they think they're going to have to be wiping stuff up off the floor that they don't want to be cleaning. But yeah, I can't believe I just said that on the podcast. I might have to edit that out.
Yeah. For all new cyclists out there, this isn't normally a given that you're going to.
You're not going to shit yourself, is what we're trying to say. Not everyone will.
Okay. What you'll find is if you have shit yourself, it's very rare that you put your back on the front. That's all I'll say.
Right, something new to mix it up. I've got a bit of a quick fire round robin for you. Don't need to overthink it. 10 or so questions. The first answer that comes to mind. Right, are you ready? I'm going to have to try and edit in some kind of a spotlight on you and the dramatic Who Wants to Be a Millionaire music. Right, quick fire round. You're the first inaugural participant, so I hope you feel happy about that.
Honoured.
Question 1. Saddlebag or bottle cage storage?
Bottle cage storage.
Pedals, clip in or clip out?
Clipping.
Preferred routes, country bumpkin or city slicker?
Country bumpkin.
Climbing or descending?
Climbing.
Garmin or Wahoo?
Garmin.
Bike brands, Specialized or Giant?
Giant.
Trek or Canyon?
Canyon.
Now, out of those two, Giant or Canyon?
Canyon. I have to say that I've got 3.
I've got a Canyon as well. So we're like-minded. Preferred clothing brand? There's no choice, just what you prefer.
Rafa.
Hats, peak up or peak down?
Peak down summer, peak up winter.
Turbo trainer, heaven or hell?
Hell.
And we're going to end on a highbrow subject, because I've obviously got quite an educated, affluent audience. Clearing your airways, nose wipe or snot rocket?
Snot rocket.
On that note, this has been great, Nick. Some, again, amazing advice there on getting started around nutrition, how to stay motivated. Really thank you for your time. Hope everyone else has enjoyed it. And for those watching, listening, again, thank you so much for joining us. If you'd like any more or want to get a bit deeper into the sport, more guidance, more advice, more helpful hints, then sign up to the blog or the forum over at www.m2mcycling.com. And as always, see you soon and ride safe. Thank you.